Yo, what's up guys, the Insane Game Freak here to bring you another nostalgia rush because you guys kept asking me for it, so I decided to give it to you. This one's going to be kind of borderline more serious because although I love the series we're talking about today, there's a lot of controversy dealing with it lately, and I kind of want to... Plus that, this series has currently, I believe, 3 iterations, and I have a raging building inside me regarding one of their... Actually, let's just get into it. And if you couldn't tell by the titles, we're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles in a Half Shell, Turtle Power. So yes, the TMNT, my Teenage Alien Ninja live action, move away, get away from that. That can disappear. Alright, so Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, the first thing I want to kind of address is the obvious question would be, which is your favorite iteration? Which iterations do we have? We have the classic 80s cartoon. We have the new 2012 cartoon, and then we have the middle brother that no one seems to fucking acknowledge for whatever reason. See, there was this company named Four Kids, and they have an iteration of the Turtles. It's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This came out in 2003, but it seems like that version of the Turtles either got swept under the rug or no one just fucking knows about it, because honestly it's never really brought up in conversation. I'm serious. Especially with all this talk about the live action reboot they're doing for the series. It's like, are we gonna talk about, you know, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, this version of it? It's kind of like how people don't understand that the TMNT movie we got in 2007 that was based off the 2003 version. I swear to God, I still see reviews of people not understanding that movie at all. But if you watch it, it's like, who the fuck is this ninja chick who's hanging around Shredder? And I'm like, that's Karai. Karai. Daughter! Karai! And people are like, who the fuck is Karai? Seriously. You know what kills me is that people now know Karai more from her ugly ass appearance in the 2012 version than her original appearance in the 2003 version. You know, Karai could get it. I'm just saying, she could have gotten it. 2012 version is kind of, but 2003, whoo, she can get it. But people don't know who Karai is. And so that's my first iteration, because my personal favorite iteration of the Turtles is the 2003 version. One, I feel like it's the most serious out of all 3. For those who don't realize that. It's also the most faithful to the comics it's based on, because a lot of the beginning stuff, I think it's like the first few seasons, actually, I think all the way up to, what, season 4? Season 4 or 5 was all based around the comics. Like, the stories that were in, like, the City at War stuff, or when they traveled, I don't know, I can't remember the dimension, but that whole, the Battle Nexus tournament, that stuff was based on comics, and the whole crossover to Usagi Jimbo, who people didn't realize that was actually a different character from a different comic, but they're included into the Turtles universe because people like the character because he's a fucking... First of all, I'm a rabbit fan. I love rabbits. I love samurai. Oh look, Usagi Jimbo. Fuck, we're done. Everything's great. Honestly, to me, the 2003 version is the best iteration because it's not only the darkest, but it's also the more well-developed of all the characters. Now, granted, I can't fully say that because technically I haven't watched that much of the 2012 version, and the 80s version, let's put it this way, I've seen the 80s version. I haven't seen all of the 80s version because that's like, what, 9 seasons? And considering how bullshit I'm sorry, if 80s fans are going to get mad, but you all need to take out the nostalgia glasses and realize something pretty basic here. The 80s version is a fun version, but that's all that version had going for it, is that it was fun and it had its own personality. The one thing people like to knock the 2003 version for is the fact that it's too dark and gritty, but it didn't really feel like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That's why a lot of people got turned off of it just from its first few episodes, because it's dark, it's gritty, it did not feel like the 80s version at all. Literally, you would not know those are the same property if the Turtles weren't Turtles. Like, seriously, it's that they're such polar opposites from each other. the way I view the Turtle iterations is that we had the really lighthearted series, we had the dark series, and then you have the 2012 series, which is the in-between mark, because they seem to they tried to take the campiness and the characteristics of the 80s cartoon, but make it a little bit more serious and toned and more like to realistic level, kind of like the 2003 version. That's why you have these weird fusions of old school things and new school things. Like, for example, Baxter Stockman in the 2012 version is the black dude. He's black in the 2003 version too. He's just more of a, they made him as just as incompetent as he is in the 80s version, but they made him have the appearance and look of the 2003 version. Another example, the fact that Karai is in this version makes no sense, because it's like, well, she wasn't in the 80s version. That's why they made her really kind of weird. Like, apparently she loves to fight and shit. She has this like off-again, on-again romance with Leo, which granted, that was hinted in the 2003 version, but it's not addressed in the same level as it is in the 2012 version. That's why they brought the whole Krang thing back. That is not 2000. The Krang doesn't. Well, see, I would be spoiling the Ultron plotline if I were to delve into that. But I think Krang originally was made for the 80s cartoon because they didn't want to do the whole Ultron plot story, but they liked the design of that thing, so they kind of just remorphed it and it became Krang. That's why Krang is used in the 2012 version. People don't realize this. April O'Neil is the April O'Neil in the 2012 version. That's a fusion of both of April O'Neil's. She has like the looks of her 80s self, but has like the personality and mindset of her 2003 self, which then gets into something that I haven't actually addressed in a video because I just couldn't be bothered. The whole Megan Fox's April O'Neil thing in the Turtles reboot. I know a lot of people were pissed off about that. Quick question: if the reboot is supposed to be based off of the original series, like I'm thinking it's going to be, Megan Fox is like a perfect fit then, because April O'Neil, for as much as you people want to act like she's such a great character in the 80s version, is really fucking incompetent. I'm sorry I have to tell you this. I'm sorry I have to bust your bubble. She is incompetent as shit. She is literally 2D porn at its finest. That's all April O'Neil was really good for in the beginning. So, considering a character that's really just eye candy being portrayed by an actress who's considered as eye candy, I'm not seeing what people were pissed off about, especially considering how much hate the 2003 version of April gets, considering to me that's the best iteration. It's just the one thing people don't like about that version is that she's not as attractive as the fucking 80s version. Get off you! Are you kidding me? You get a well-written female in a cartoon and you're worried about how she doesn't look as high as her 80s self. Even though her 80s self was constantly getting kidnapped and put in stupid-ass situations and did everything she could for a good story, including endangering herself and everyone around her. Yes, yes, fuck me, right? Like, seriously. That's my whole thing when it comes to the Turtles. And granted, I love the Turtles no matter what iteration it is. I feel like the problem with me with the 2012 version is, like, I have my really campy series and I have my dark series. The only thing about the 2012 series I could be bothered to watch is if I want the campiness, but I don't want it as ridiculous as the 80s version got. Also, I feel like in terms of the Turtles themselves, the Turtles have a lot more of that goofy but mixed personality. Like, they took their personalities from both of the previous versions and mixed them. Which is, I guess, for people who like things about the 80s and the 2003 version, the 2012 version is probably doing so well because it's mixing and meshing things together well enough. Even though it still annoys me that people don't know who the fuck Karai is. But I guess I should talk about my favorite episode, so this isn't turning more into a rant than what it actually should be, because it's nostalgia-verse. I love the damn series. Me personally, when it comes to favorite Turtles, Leo. Leonardo was my boy. Leader, beast, rocking dual wielding swords, motherfuckers. Done. We're done. I love characters with swords. To me, I will say I have gained more respect and enjoyment out of Donatello, which ironically I think came from like the 2012 and the 2003 versions make me like Donatello a lot more. because I didn't initially. I think he was probably my least favorite. But I've learned to enjoy him a lot more than I used to. When it comes to the plot line, you got your villains. You know, you got. Well, it depends on which villains we're referring to, but most of them do share villains like Stockman, the Rat King. What is his name? The Crocodile Mutation. I can't think of his fucking name because he only shows up in a few episodes, and then he's brought back in a later season, and he's all fucked up too. What is his name? It's some. I know it's a croc. It's not a crocodile, but not. What is it? I know because his two iterations that I've seen so far, which is his 80s counterpart and his 2003 counterpart, are two completely different characters, and I can't think of what the names are. It's gonna bother me. But getting off of that, you had the Triceratons with that whole Battle Nexus tournament. Pretty much when they started traveling into different dimensions in space and shit, is when we started getting to that. You had Casey Jones, you had April O'Neil. You had the plot line with Bishop and Shredder and the Foot Clan, and then eventually, when you got into later seasons, you introduced the characters like Professor Honeycutt, the Utroms, fucking Bishop. Oh god, fucking Bishop, son. Like, people, this is what kills me. Like, oh, Turtles supposed to be cartoony and fucking fun and shit. Watch the 2003 version. Some of the episodes, like the Rat King episode, was ridiculous. The Insane, oh my god, I will honestly bet I'll put it this way, Stockman is a tragic character in his own right, but in at least the first two ones, I haven't really seen the 2012, much of the 2012 Baxter Stockman, but fucking that episode in the 2003 version, Insane in the Membrane, when he's trying to rebuild his body and it fucking starts breaking down on that was some shit. That shit still grosses me out because it's so nasty, man. See his fucking finger come off. It's fucking ridiculous. I probably will say like my favorite of the arcs is probably that beginning arc when they're first getting introduced to the Foot Clan and the Purple Dragons and the gang wars and shit. And you're introduced, and that's kind of like when you're introduced to all your staples like Stockman, Shredder, Hun, Casey, and you're kind of getting and then that City of War arc on top of that whole Leo being kind of tempted by the Shredder, and the Shredder being like, you need to join me, Leo, and Leo being like, fuck you, nigga, and then the Foot proceeding to beat his ass all night, and what made it worse is this is when you knew Shredder was threatening as hell, not the goofy Shredder from the 80s version, fuck that Shredder, which is another thing, they took the more serious Shredder in the 2012 version, because he's not serious in the 80s version, and I feel like, you know, I'm fanboying over the 2003 version a lot because honestly, I feel like that's the version that gets the least amount of praise, and it's purely because I feel like a lot of people don't know anything about it. Every time I see a Ninja Turtles video, it's always on the 80s version or 2012. I'm like, there's one in the middle. It's right here. It's right here. It's good. Watch it. Like I can't stand that shit. But like that whole thing with Shredder. He was beating Leo's ass like all night, and then everyone's like chilling at April's house in an apartment, and he kicks Leo through the window, and Leo's like, and they're like, oh shit, what happened to Leo? Shredder was like, get out of town, and the niggas left like what was it like? It wasn't even like I think it was literally either the same episode or like the next episode they were gone. Like we spent that whole time of rehabilitating Leo and him having that conversation and dealing with their issues. Even those time travel plot lines they did later on in the later seasons where like each of the turtles kind of got separated. Like I think it was like right after the Battle Nexus tournament, they all had to find their way back home because they kind of got separated through the dimensions. Don and Tello's little plot, like the world he ended up in, the alternate future where like Donatello from his generation, from that timeline was dead. Shredder had fucked everything. I think what was it? I think it was either Michelangelo. No, it was either. I'm trying to think. Like, I think it was either Leo or Raph who had lost their eyes. April was the only one left. Casey was dead and shit. And they had to go through all this effort to figure out a way to send Donnie back, while at the same time trying to stop Shredder from that universe. And that arc ended where Donnie went back, but everybody from that universe in that fight died. It was ridiculous. I sat there and I was like, wow, this is some shit. And then the culmination of epicness. The Turtles, it's the Turtles Forever special. That was gold. I love that. That was awesome. Problem is because it's for kids, you start hearing like, oh look, Dan Greed's voicing some of the original Turtles. Oh god damn it. It makes it worse because you know the original voice actors were still doing it. Like, I think they got them for certain voices. Like, I mean, I think even the original voices for the 80s cartoon are doing some of the voices for the 2012 version. And I was just kind of like, oh, so you couldn't get all the Turtles. It makes it worse because when you see the comic book Turtles later on in that movie special, one of them's voiced by Jason Griffith. And I'm like, god damn it. I mean, I swear to God, 4Kids, you reused the hell out of some of your voice actors. Which is worse because Jason Griffith is playing, Silent in Pokemon. He played Sonic. I'm like, I'm tired. It's like, come on. You gotta stop fucking with the trifecta. I can only enjoy you for so long before I'm like, okay, I can't hear you as certain characters right now. It's bothering me. It's kind of like hearing Goku's voice actor play anything actually. Or like hearing Veronica Taylor as anyone but Ash. It fucks with you. It's not like I don't enjoy things about the 80s cartoon. I do think there were a lot of characters from the 80s cartoon I would like to see, like Mona Lisa. Maybe that's just my fanboy in me, because I'm like, the romantic interest would have been cool, at least for Raph. Because Raph, I will probably say Raph is probably more underappreciated of the Turtles. It's like Michelangelo has that whole comedy thing, and they kind of did him with a lot of the superhero crossovers, and him doing that whole Turtle Man, and pairing up with, I can't think of his name. The fucking black superhero wearing all the silver and shit. What is his name? Oh, it's gonna bother me now. I'm mad. Everything is ruined. And then you had Donatello's. Actually, Donatello was probably underappreciated too. Honestly, I kind of wish they did the arcs. They did the arcs focusing on Leo, but I feel like Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raph didn't really get their specific arcs. They just had their specific episodes. Because I would have liked to see arcs focusing around those characters. More so than what we got. I'll put it that way. I mean, it's not like they didn't get their episodes dedicated to them, and we didn't get some cool shit from them. But I would have liked to see more. And maybe the 2012 version will do that. Granted, I don't know what kind of plot line that's going for, because it's mixing both of the plot lines from the 2003 cartoon and the 80s cartoons. I'm not sure. But even when I was watching the 80s cartoon, it's like, as I said, it just had a lot of retarded jokes. You had a lot of fun, like the whole mother and wife thing with Krang and Shredder. It was ridiculous. The Bebop and Rocksteady ridiculousness. It's not like I don't like things from the 80s cartoon. It's just that when you see the 2003 version, when you're like 13, it's like, fuck everything else. This is where Turtles began. And then the 2007 movie came out and people didn't understand it, and I was just like, well, you know what, fuck it, fine. Do your campy version. Shit. But honestly, I could keep rambling about this, but that's all the general things I wanted to say. It's like, I enjoy the hell out of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and I'm sorry if I'm focusing specifically on my favorite, but that's my favorite. I mean, granted, I would love to see video responses for this one, because there's 3 different ways you can come at this. And I know I didn't talk about the live-action movies, well, they're technically live-action, but it's like them in the fucking turtle costumes. Shit looks bad. Even today, it looks really fucking bad to me. I mean, some of them you can get enjoyment out of, I'm just saying. But leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Which is your favorite Turtles variation? You can talk about your nostalgia moments in the video. Oh wait, they're getting rid of video responses later on in the next few months, aren't they? Is it this month or next month? Whole point is they're getting rid of video responses, so make a video and do a response as you can, and after that, then just send them to me. I like to see them, so message me If you can figure out how to do that now, because YouTube makes everything fucking convoluted as hell. Anyways, same Game Freak, lots of game, play to win, and I'll catch you guys later. Pizza! Pizza power! I'm not gonna sing the whole song, but pizza power, yeah.